Greetings once again, I'm Buhle Hlachwayo and welcome to SAICE TV. We're here at the SAICE House in Midrand to attend the open discussion on what led to the 15 VAs to take legal action against the Department of Public Works as well as the Engineering Council of South Africa. According to the VAs, the changes made to the current 50 council were not legally consulted. SAICE CEO Manglin Pillay gives us an idea of the current state of relations between ECSA and the VAs and the steps that were taken to ensure that the matter was resolved before it became an ongoing lawsuit.
Audio Jungle.
I'm joined here by the CEO of SAICE, Manglin Pillay. Manglin, thank you so much for joining us and a warm welcome to SAICE TV.
Thanks very much.
All right, now let's get into the first question. Where did the relationship between ECSA and the rest of the VAs go wrong?
Well, it started in the process of the appointment of the new council. I would like to think that the relationship between ECSA and the voluntary associations was a strong one. The decisions started coming through from the Engineering Council. Those decisions were marginalizing the voluntary associations, where the work that was undertaken on behalf of ECSA by the voluntary associations was being removed. So, for example, we, as the example, SAICE conducted the peer review process for professional registration, and we were asked to stop that and to not do that any longer. So we were wondering what was going on. And there were very other disbandments, changing of the VA relationship with the Engineering Council. There was a framework that was put forward. We had commented on that, and then the Engineering Council did not take those comments into consideration. And then ultimately was the appointment of this unlawful council. And obviously that was, huge concerns, and it has dire impacts on the industry. So based on some of these happenings, I think the tension began between ECSA and the voluntary associations. I think as an engineer, based on what we are doing, the concern for the ethics and the morals of this profession, based on the litigation that's currently happening, engineers can be proud that there are people standing up for the right things in our country. This litigation is an indication that there are people who have a genuine interest in the ethics of this profession. So particularly civil engineers can be proud of the fact that we are making a good fight on their behalf. So they can stand tall and walk proud in public here.
Absolutely. And looking at tonight's open discussion, it has been noted that ECSA could not join us and they've rejected the invitation. What are your thoughts of that?
Look, we've certainly sent an invitation to the Engineering Council. The head of communications who received an invitation, it's their prerogative to accept or not to accept that invitation. And we respected their decision not to participate. However, I do think an opportunity was missed to clarify their position, their stance on their process, and it will be wonderful to hear what the Engineering Council has to say. The impression that is created in the public when the Engineering Council is quiet is that this is a one-sided affair, and we miss the opportunity to have healthy discussions to expound to the public and to our members and to ECSA's registrants of what exactly is going on, and to have both sides of the story. So that's missing. I believe that's missing.
Right now, I'm joined by the CEO of Consulting Engineers of South Africa, Mr. Campbell, and looking at how ill managed the appointment of the council members were. How does that affect democracy as a political system in our country and a method used in all organizations when it comes to making decisions?
There is a very old adage that says power corrupts and total power corrupts, or absolute power corrupts absolutely. And that's where the problem lies, because then people start assuming that they may make decisions uninformed or not, because they have been ordained to be able to do that. And that doesn't fit in a democracy such as ours. And that is why it becomes so imperative that for the profession to mimic our democracy, you have to have a concurrent involvement of the regulatory body, Engineering Council of South Africa, the voluntary associations, be they Institution of Civil Engineering, Mechanical, Electrical. You have your industry bodies like Consulting Engineers South Africa or the South African Federation of Civil Engineering Contractors. And then you have the academics, because each of us have a role to play in this space. And I liked what one of the attendees to the earlier talk raised was maybe a thing like professional registration should be done by a neutral body, so that you cannot then, through an act, because that's starting to happen, there are proposals now to amend the act, the Engineering Professions Act, which strengthen the authority of the minister. Now, that can't be good for a profession, because you shouldn't have somebody that can make sweeping decisions that affect so many. You should rather have a matrix of the interested and affected parties coming together that informs the best decision for the best outcome.
Right here, I'm joined by Dr. Titus Mighty, who is the former ECSA Council member. Doctor, thank you so much for joining us and welcome to SAICE TV.
Thank you, ma'am.
I know during the open discussion, you all touched on transformation. Do you think it has any role in this lawsuit?
46 names were proposed as opposed to 50 names, and I can declare now that the 4 names were left out because, one, the representatives of the states, the names were submitted after the process, the advertisement process was closed, so they couldn't be considered during that process of evaluation. Also, the other 2 professional certificated engineers, as well as the specified category, there were insufficient nominations, so the 4 names were left out for the minister to actually look at perhaps the existing database or whatever, for the minister to make a determination who fills those positions. My expectation was that after the consultations have taken place with the minister, then the full 50 list of names, even if including the changes that were made, is presented to the old council, for the old council to then ratify the decision and nominate and approve the nominated list after consultation with the minister. Unfortunately, this process did not take place. I don't recall any meeting or even ad hoc via round robin, any decisions that were made by the outgoing council to actually ratify the final list that was submitted to the minister for approval. And I must just also say that I was part of the EXCO. So even at an EXCO level, outside the council meeting, there's an EXCO that is established that actually looks at, if there's any decision that have to be made on behalf of the council outside the council meetings.
I'm joined here by Mark Deeks, who is the former SAICE president in 2005. Thank you so much for joining us, Mark, and a warm welcome to SAICE TV.
Thank you, Bortley. It's nice to be here.
How do you think the Department of Public Works should have handled this appointment instead of how they've handled it now, which has unfortunately become a lawsuit?
Well, one thinks that they probably, the officials, should have been more receptive, should have been more open to the issues at stake, and more diligent in actually following through the complaint rather than dismissing it or failing to respond. I think that has to be the lesson. We're in this democratic situation we find ourselves in. It's actually not permissible for people to behave in an officious way like that, and actually not to take to heart the genuine concerns of voluntary associations who really are there to support ECSA in everything that it does.
It is unfortunate that ECSA declined the invitation to the open discussion, which would have been a perfect opportunity for them to justify their decision and to come together with SAICE and the rest of the VAs to find solutions to resolve the matter. Due to their absence, this still leaves the unresolved matter one-sided. But then again, can their absence imply on a possibly confirmed wrongdoing on their side? I'm Buhle Hlachwayo. Thank you so much for joining us, and until the next event.